Hello, I'm Candace Wierzbowski,
And I'm Stephanie Spiker.
and welcome back to the Farmhouse. We're back from our little hiatus, and we're excited to talk to Danielle Wainwright this week. She is the owner of Clover Valley Farms, which is a farming operation in New Jersey where they raise beef, chicken, they run the Point Market, and they have several other ventures that we'll let her discuss. She's also the chair of the New Jersey Farm Bureau Women's Leadership Committee, and she's also the president of the Burlington County Board of Ag's Women's Committee.
Yeah, she is a busy, busy lady. We actually, I learned about Danielle because I was researching an article that I was writing for, I wrote back in March, because March is Women's History Month, and talking about the 2022 newly released Census of Agriculture and the numbers of female farmers. And in New Jersey was one of the few states in the Mid-Atlantic where that number increased. So I was trying to find someone from New Jersey to interview and stumbled across Danielle. And when I called her up and we had our interview, I think the very first thing she said to me was, "I love talking about women in ag."
And you were like, oh, do you?
Oh yeah, it was like literally like a little bell went off, little light bulb. And I was like, oh, okay, after this interview, I have to talk to her about the podcast. And she was so excited. So, it was a good find. And if anyone wants to read that article, it is on lancasterfarming.com. If you just search New Jersey Women in Ag, you will definitely be able to find it, and you can read that.
I have a question. Why are there more women in ag in New Jersey now? Do you know?
So it's, I think, a couple factors, but one thing that stood out when I was talking with Virginia Harris of USDA National Agricultural Statistics Services, women in ag are more likely to be on farms that grow specialty crops, and New Jersey, as the garden state, does a lot of specialty crops. So yeah, you get a lot of women, it seems like, more so growing specialty crops than growing like grains and oil seeds and stuff like that.
That's very interesting. I did not know that.
See, the more you know, people. Read lancasterfarming.com and you will learn new things.
All right, well, let's jump in with Danielle and learn about how, she's running her farm and what she's doing to champion women in ag.
All right. Danielle Wainwright, thank you so much for joining us here at the Farmhouse.
Yay, thank you guys for having me.
So we always start each interview off with the same question for everyone, and that is, did you always want to work in agriculture?
That's an awesome question. So as soon as I discovered agriculture as a young 4-H'er, absolutely yes, like I couldn't get enough of it. So I found out about 4-H, joined a dairy club, showed dairy calves, and then from that just couldn't get enough and ended up going to Delaware Valley College at the time and graduated with a dairy science degree. And then we are beef farmers now, so kind of not in that dairy realm, but very close with having cows. And we have quite the business here on our farm. We are beef farmers. We sell our beef for the last 13 years direct to consumer. Last year, we opened a farm market where we now sell individual cuts along with bulk cuts. We're animal nutritionists. We're very diversified. We offer our consultation services because there's a lot of homesteaders popping up that really don't have the ag background that need help. So we just consult with them about mostly fences. What fences you need? And what else do we do? I guess that's a little bit of there's everything we do.
Yeah, you got a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're also, you didn't mention this, but you're also the chair of the New Jersey Farm Bureau Women's Leadership Committee, which brings us to my first question for you. And that is, how is the committee working to educate and encourage the next generation of female farmers?
That's a great question. So we have 21 counties in the state of New Jersey, and we are not represented by every county, but we are slowly getting there. And it is our goal to have every county represented with a female farmer or somebody in the ag realm. And I think the committee really was made up of maybe more of the farm wife aspect before, and it's definitely been shifting over to female farmers and more women are involved in agriculture. And they just laid amazing groundwork for everything. And I'm just so proud to be in this atmosphere and what has been created in New Jersey.
What do you think has spurred that kind of shift between the farm wives, as you called them, and actual female farmers coming on board?
That's a good question. I feel like female farm wives play the most important role on a farm because they're the gophers. They're keeping things organized behind the scenes. They are so feeding everybody. I feel like, I don't know, like what would have been I don't know. For me, so like I wasn't born on a farm. I found agriculture later. But even the pushback I got, when did I graduate? In 2007. The pushback I got then, like, oh, you're going to be a female farmer. Like, I had so much pushback even then that I wanted to be a farmer. So, like, I still feel like there's maybe pushback there, but that's a good question.
Mhm. It's okay if you don't have the answer because, might be one of those things that's tough to answer
It
in
is.
general.
Like, I think social media definitely played a role in other farm women seeing what other farm women are doing and that go-to spirit and like, hey, if they're doing it, I can do it. And just, I don't know, hopefully, can I curse? Being badasses? I don't know. Yeah.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes, we can do that.
Go ahead. I mean, we can always
Yeah.
bleep it if we have to. Well, that's great. I mean, you have to wonder too, how many of these women defined themselves as farm wives, but because of the work they're doing on the farms, they might actually be farmers. I mean, if they're out there doing farm chores, taking care of, animals, that to me is a farmer, whether you call yourself a farm wife or a farmer, I guess that's up to you. But I don't know. I feel like the line can be very easily blurred.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I'm glad you talked about like all the work that they do behind the scenes because it seems like there is a lot of invisible work that these women do, including like communicating about their farm. And I know that the leadership committee, it offers communication training for women. And you call it communication boot camp, right? I think I saw online.
Yes, there is a boot camp that American Farm Bureau offers down in Washington, D.C. Yep, 2 times a year.
Yeah. Okay. So I was curious, what does that boot camp cover, and why do you think it's important that it's a program like for women run by women?
That's a good question. I have yet to go to boot camp yet. The timing is very difficult. They have it in the spring and the fall, and that's right in planting and harvesting and being an active farmer on the farm. I am having a really hard time actually getting to that. So I'm not able to answer that very well. So I apologize.
That's okay. Do you think there's a difference for women to be trained by women as opposed to women going to training that's run by male farmers or male Farm Bureau members?
So like that's hard because sometimes like at farm gatherings and everything, I'd rather go be with the men and talk farming than maybe be with the women that aren't talking farming. So that's a hard topic for myself that I'd rather talk farming than not non-farming topics, if that makes sense. So I struggle with the boot camp thing part of it, that the men don't have a training that they have to go to. And I don't know why it's so geared towards women.
Gotcha.
I'm like that. Well, if the men don't have a boot camp, like why do they think they know everything? Like women also know everything.
Right. Like, why only train the women in communication when it should just be a general training? Yeah.
Correct.
I would say that is a good point.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of weird that there isn't one for men that, because I'm sure that there are male farmers who would love a little education about how to, advocate for their farms, for themselves.
Absolutely. And like we do, American Farm Bureau has their national convention every year. Last year, or this year actually in January, it was just in Utah. And there's so many training opportunities there for across the board that I sat in. And American Farm Bureau has the National Women's Leadership Committee, and they had a whole day of training for us there. And they do a fantastic job. That was with chairs and vice chairs. So I enjoyed that immensely to be with everybody there.
Yeah. So you have already mentioned like social media and how that's kind of, gotten involved with agriculture. And I know that you run the social media for your farm. And I was looking and I saw you have over 30,000 followers on Instagram and over 40,000 followers on Facebook. And as the social media editor here, those are impressive numbers. I think that's very awesome. So for you, why is it important as a farmer to be on social media? And then also, as someone who's been successful on social media, do you have any advice for other farmers who might be trying to grow a following?
Absolutely. I guess everybody has their own niche as to why they want to be on social media. Mine is to educate the consumer. I want to educate everybody that's so far removed from being a farmer, what actually happens on a farm life, how we treat our animals. There's so much misconceptions out there about what farmers do, how we treat our animals. I just want to, I show our day-to-day life. We have 2 little boys about being a farm mom, a farm wife, and a farmer, and just, yeah, what happens in a day and the decisions we have to make. So I was just recently, in Utah at a seminar. It was like a panel session, and somebody said, like, oh, I feel like the ag sector of in social media is very diluted. In reality, it's not. We make up 2% of the population. I feel like farmers just find each other on social media. So then we're just seeing all of our own content that all ag is creating, but really there can't be enough of us. We make up 2%. The more the merrier. And yeah, advocating for agriculture is a huge, just to start sharing your story. Everybody has a story. Nobody's story is the same. Nobody farms the same, and just advocate and show what we do.
Great. Well, so given that you're involved on at least 2 committees dedicated to championing women in agriculture, I'm sure you've got a lot of advice for women who are either considering farming or maybe just starting out. But what's the one thing you wish you could communicate to these women? Like, what's the one thing you'd want them to know before they start out pursuing their interest in ag?
There's no vacations. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's a hard one. The downtime, the taking a break is a hard one. We just took our first ever family vacation last month. So we have a 4 and a 5-year-old, and they were begging to go to Disney World in Florida. So we managed it.
Aw.
And like to get that done was like a feat in itself. And just even the anxiety of being away and not with the cows, and like, oh my God, of course they got out, and like just like not being there to help get cows that kid. But not everybody's cow farmers. But that's a good question. Just, I guess there's always activist groups or groups against you wanting to say negative comments or to go against you. Just to kind of just let that fade away. Don't pay any mind to that, and just keep what's burning in your heart, your passion, and just keep going forward and put your blinders on. Yeah. Just keep that passion.
That's solid
Like that.
advice.
Man, I can't imagine, like, not only the stress that goes into planning a trip to somewhere like Disney World, but then add on top of that the stress that goes into planning, like, making sure the farm is still up and running while you're gone. Oh my gosh, I applaud you for actually accomplishing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I have to thank my brother big time. He stayed on the farm, and so we have 2 different herds, and he, had his hands full.
I'm sure.
But luckily the weather, it was fairly mild. It was like in the mid 50s to 60s. So it was like not too bad for end of February.
Oh yeah, that's not so bad.
I would have felt awful if it was freezing temps and
Aw.
So, in addition to chairing the Farm Bureau's Women Leadership Committee in New Jersey, you also are the president of the Burlington County Board of Agriculture's Women's Committee. And I know because we talked, for all of our listeners, I actually interviewed Danielle earlier this week, well, this week as in when we're recording, for an article for our website and in the paper. And I learned that the Women's Committee for Burlington County focuses mostly on educating for youth. So what kind of led the committee into that direction?
I don't know actually what led them into the committee. The committee's been around for quite a while. I think just seeing, again, everybody being so far removed from agriculture, and just seeing the need for children thinking that milk just comes from a grocery store, and being able to go into schools and reading and talking about agriculture. At our county fair, we have a huge Farmer for the Day tent where we advocate and educate as much as we can on agriculture, crops that are grown in New Jersey, and farm animals. And we bring animals on Children's Day into the tent just to get as much fun education about agriculture as you can out there. And there's just such a need to educate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know you already kind of mentioned a little about it when you were introducing yourself to us, but could you tell us more about your farming operation at Clover Valley Farms? Do you have a favorite aspect of the operation or anything you're particularly passionate about?
Being with animals, like I absolutely love animals. I always say, like on social media, like I hate technology. Like I hate it with such a passion. I'm like, just give me a shovel and let me clean out the barn, muck the barn, do whatever I need to do. Like, give me that. I want outside time. I hate what is that? The chief bottle washer, like whatever. I like and the social media. I run the website. I run the farm market. Like I'd rather like the computers. I don't like it. I like that old, just before computers.
Mm-hmm.
So just being in a tractor. A few years ago, I found a old 4020 John Deere tractor. It's like the basic. I like basic, no bells and whistles. Just yeah,
Yeah, old school. I like it.
that's my favorite. Yeah. Bring it. That's yeah.
I have to tell you, this morning we found out about Finland has this mobile phone throwing competition
My
every
husband.
year, and we were joking this morning about how we need to host our own because we would all just love to throw our
Yeah,
phones.
like I
And
think it'd
Danielle,
be
maybe you need to join us.
I
I
do.
think it'd be cathartic, right? Like again, I run our social media here, so I understand that like as much as I think social media is so important in the day and age we live in, it can get to be a lot. Like I think it'd be so cathartic to just go outside and chuck my cell phone as far as I can throw it.
It
You know.
is. I
So,
would go
you
for
know.
that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we'll have to actually do that and we'll invite you to come up and visit us and throw your phone with us.
So I actually last year I ran everything through my personal cell phone, and then it got to a point that everybody for beef for nutrition was just reaching out at all hours of the day, having young kids. It just wasn't driving. So I went and got a business line cell phone. So I carry two cell phones around.
Oh
Oh,
man.
no.
You can throw both of
Can I
them if you would
please?
like.
One in
So
each hand.
But I absolutely love separating that because when I want to check out from consumer life to like
yes.
focus on family life, oh my God, it's so nice to be able to do that.
Hmm.
But people that do have cows, if they have an emergency question or something, like they absolutely can reach me on my personal, but like, oh, so if anybody's thinking about that out there, like, oh my God, I think that was the best investment is to get that second business line
Yeah.
Okay.
to then, yeah, I enjoyed being able to separate that life.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, you mentioned in your introduction that you studied dairy science, and I know from when we talked earlier that your husband was a dairy farmer at one point. So obviously you both have a dairy background, but why then did you choose beef?
As I guess across all states, dairy is a dying industry, unfortunately, and it breaks my heart. I think right now we only have 17 dairies left in our whole state of New Jersey, so
Wow.
it's not, yeah, it's bad. I love dairy. I still threaten him that we're gonna get dairy cows. Um,
Make it
18,
18.
yeah, I threaten that, and then like people start gossiping, and they're like, "Did you hear the Wainwrights are gonna get back into dairy?" So where our farm market is, it actually used to be we bought that farm last year, it used to be an old dairy farm. So like there's a dairy, there's no equipment or anything in there, but the shell of the barn, the dairy barn's there. And I'm like, ooh, guess what I want? um, why did we pick beef? I guess the demand of dairy milking 2 times a day, 3 times a day, that just that demand isn't there. And it is a little bit easier having beef cows. Um, but I miss dairy immensely. I don't and it's hard being in New Jersey, like, anytime we need a part or anything, we have to run out to Lancaster where you guys are, and there's no dealers and out here. There's not the support in New Jersey to run a
Yeah.
dairy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that's hard.
I know like when we talked and you were telling me about how, you guys both were dairy people and then it stuck out because I just loved how you said it. You were just like, we just really missed cows, so we got beef. And I'm like, I love that though.
Yeah,
Like,
we didn't have any. So Fred held on to some of his like really tough genetic cows. And after they had passed, and then it was like, oh wow, we miss cows really bad. Like, and then a local dairy farmer brought in an Angus bull and bred his cows like a cleanup bull, and it was the Angus bull. And that started our Angus herd, or our Angus beef business, was this dairy farmer that we did his nutrition work, bringing in this Angus bull. And he was like, yeah, do you want to like bottle feed these like crosses? And we were like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is where it's at. Like, I love this so much. So from there, we were just bottle feeding calves and raising them into our beef program. And then once we bought our own farm, we started with the cow calf operation. So we are total cow calf operation.
all
And
right.
then we raise Angus. Well, we're a mixed herd. I would say Angus, but we have Herefords in White Park, and we have a breed. I think a guest that you had on a few weeks ago, Wagyu cattle. We've been
Yes.
breeding a lot of Wagyu cattle. I guess since 2018 we've had Wagyu cattle, so we've been growing that herd.
Nice. I know we were talking about that we're like, we've talked to a couple Wagyu people and I'm like, I really need to actually try. I've
Yeah.
never actually had it myself, but I've heard so many good things about it. So,
It's awesome. So I sell it in the market, and people come in and be like, "What's better, the Angus or the Wagyu?" And I'm like, And I'm like, that's a trick question. I said, because it's not apples to apples.
Mm.
Even though it is beef, I said it's two different
Mm-hmm.
compositely, different animals, and they're both amazing.
Yeah. Maybe at the end of this like crop of episodes, we should just treat ourselves
Yeah,
to
I
Wagyu
support
beef
it.
dinner.
Yes.
So you mentioned this a few times that you guys also do like custom feed mixes and like nutrition consultation. How did you kind of get into that aspect of the business? Because I feel like I don't know a lot of farmers that also like kind of dabble into that side of things.
So in college, I took nutrition classes and enjoyed that very much. And then my husband was already an animal nutritionist consultant. So then we just um, ran with that, I guess. It's been picking up over the years with more and more homesteaders joining the ag world, which is amazing, and just helping them through what to feed. And because they're just kind of putting the cart before the horse and getting animals, and then like, oh crap, like what am I
Right.
supposed to, how am I supposed to raise them? How am I supposed to? So I guess we also advocate for animals. We advocate, yeah, for the ag industry, but also the animals.
Yeah. And then I also wanted to ask you about the point market that you guys have that sells your products and then other local Jersey products. What inspired that opening?
So we've been selling our beef for 13 years by the quarter, half, and whole custom. And then just the need to people not having the freezer space to be able to fit a whole quarter of beef in. The price point, people can't afford all of that at one time. Everybody's like, can you just like offer it smaller, offer it in different? So we use a custom butcher to be able to do that. So then to sell it individually, you have to find a USDA butcher, and the state of New Jersey has no USDA butcher. So I
Oh,
have to bring,
wow.
yeah. So I have to bring my beef over to Pennsylvania, and it's a 2 hour trip out there, and then, yep, get the animals processed over there. So it took some time, and of course, increasing the herd because it takes, as you know, 2 years about for an animal to get to, market weight. So it's been a process, but we got there, and it's been amazing.
Hmm.
The community has just come out and supported us greatly.
So it's you feel like it's worth that hassle of coming all the way to Pennsylvania and everything to have the market, it seems like.
I wish it wasn't the case,
Yeah.
but
Oh
yes.
yeah.
It's like to be able to do it, I have to. So there's
Yeah.
no
Mm-hmm.
other, option. So
Hmm.
it's getting harder. I'm trying something this year. Last year we bring beef every month. So this year I'm sending beef every other month, but doubling what I'm bringing. So hopefully I'm like not
Hmm.
making one more trip out just to try to save some time.
Yeah.
It
I
is
don't,
shocking that there aren't any
Yeah,
certified
I'm like
butchers in your state.
maybe I know like Penn State has this like butcher apprenticeship program that they started fairly recently. I'm like maybe I need to give them a call and be like, "Hey, send some of those people out to Jersey once they
yeah.
graduate." Like
So there's not even a butcher shop. So there's so many USDA grants that they're trying to take advantage of, but it's finding the land townships not wanting a butcher shop, a slaughter, like all these
Mm-hmm.
wow.
buzzwords that like it's like, ooh, we don't want that in our town. So it's been a
That's
few-year
interesting
process.
because, a lot of the trends of consumers is wanting to buy that local product. So uh, it's kind of silly. It's like, how are you going to get that local product if your township won't allow a butcher because of like slaughterhouse buzzwords or whatever? But it's like, but consumers want to buy local beef. But well, how you get local beef? You need to have someone
Hmm.
butcher it. Like that's
Yeah,
such a catch
Yeah.
22 going on.
Everyone
yeah,
wants the sausage, but no one wants
Yeah,
to consider how the sausage is made, quite
yeah,
yeah,
literally in this
literally.
case.
yeah. But the butcher that we use, I absolutely love him, and like what he does, like because people come in the market and be like, "Oh, do you like cut this?" I'm like, "Gosh, no, you don't want me." Oh, your steak would not look pretty if I had
It's like we'd
to.
be very impressed if you also did
Yeah.
that.
Oh
Add that
gosh,
to
no.
your list of things that you do.
No. I'm good. I'll take that one. Yeah. And then we also even raise chickens or broilers and turkeys and all the proteins. Oh, I don't do pig. I don't do pig or lamb. I'll let other people do that. But I enjoy raising quality products for the community and being able to provide the community with those products.
Yeah.
Very nice. So one thing that comes up often with the women we talk about is just how many responsibilities that they're juggling. And we have hit on quite a few that you
Yeah.
are juggling yourself. And I think it's something that many women, whether they're in ag or not, are familiar with. And so I wanted to ask, how do you manage keeping all those plates spinning while still finding time for yourself and making sure you're not burning yourself out?
That's an amazing question. So burnout is a real thing that I struggle with greatly, because I feel like it's all self-inflicted, but I get involved in on all the committee levels and then on the farming side of life. I have been speaking, or I was speaking for over 2 years with a life coach, every other month. It started out every week, I think, and then it went to every other week. Just having that outlet to be able to speak with somebody and not be afraid to, because mental health in agriculture is an absolutely topic that needs to start being addressed.
Mhm.
That I think we're the number one industry with suicide, I believe.
Yeah, it's up there.
So just it is. So I think mental health needs to start being talked about more, and it's okay to speak with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We're very pro mental health here.
Yes, and I will say that to those listening that we do have multiple articles with resources. If you go onto our website and you search farmer mental health or farmer stress, you will be able to find those articles that contain some really helpful resources.
Absolutely. And what was I going to say? And self-care, you really need to just set the time to go for a walk. Go do something that brings you joy.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the not opposite side, on the spectrum of organizing everything, I have paper calendars everywhere. I have a giant year calendar that I keep up, and then I have a month calendar separate. Old school. Nothing is in my phone. Don't look at my calendar in my phone, because
Well, we're throwing our phones away anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna just be chucking them. It's fine.
Yes, we are. Yeah, so it's total old school with the paper calendar.
Great. All right. Well, that leads us to our last question, and it's the big one that we save for the end.
Oh.
And that is, what does being a woman in ag mean to you?
Empowerment. I the first word that popped into my head was empowerment.
We love that.
Just yay. Yeah, that we can do it. We can make these hard decisions. It's being done. It's going to continue to be done. Just this male dominated industry, I feel like, is maybe cracking a little bit and letting us in there and just showing that we can do it. And it's an awesome time. I'm very proud to be a woman in ag. I'm proud to be a farmer. I'm proud to be active on social media and show other younger women that are coming up through college, whatever aspect they're going, that it can be done. And don't listen to the naysayers. Go kick ass.
Yes.
All right, Danielle, thank you for joining us at the farmhouse today. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Awesome. It was so great to speak with both of you.
All right. First interview back from break. I feel like we aren't so rusty, which is good. I think we pulled it off.
We shook off the cobwebs. No big deal.
And now here we are. So, I was so fascinated to learn that New Jersey does not have a single USDA accredited butcher in the entire state. Now, I know New Jersey is not that big of a state, but what?
It's also, it's not a big state, but it is a state that is adjacent to several major metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
One of which, New York City, kind of known for steakhouses.
Yeah. And, we talked about this while we were talking to Danielle, but it has become very apparent, especially since the pandemic, that people want to know where their food is coming from. They want that locally raised beef that they know for a fact came from a farm in New Jersey. But how do you expect to get that beef if you don't allow butchers in your township? Because, I don't know, maybe the term slaughterhouse sounds scary, but come on. What are we doing? Let's think about this.
It's a very strange disconnect, and I do wonder if semantics are really at the bottom of it, if they refer to them as, I don't know, butcheries or something other than slaughterhouse, if things would be easier for them. But really they shouldn't have to, because that is how the world works. It's realistic, to know that if you want beef, you are going to have to slaughter a cow.
Well, yeah. And maybe that is where, Danielle talked about educating the youth. So maybe the next generation, fingers crossed, will understand that butchering is necessary if you want a nice hamburger.
That is very true.
So do you have any butchering experience?
I don't, but I've read some articles. There's one I can think of in Lancaster Farming where they talked about women being trained to be butchers, and I thought that sounded extremely cool. I actually have a good friend of mine who she worked sort of as a butcher for a period of time, and she knew how to dismantle an entire pig, and I always thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever heard, and I was really proud of her for taking that on. It's not something that I think a lot of women pursue, and I don't think there's any reason why more couldn't get into that line of work. In New Jersey. And honestly, if any of our listeners are local to the Mid-Atlantic, which I'm assuming at least some of you are, there is the Penn State Butcher Apprenticeship. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Penn Stater, but because we do need more butchers. And clearly there's a need in New Jersey and there is a need other places. So if you're having any kind of thoughts on a career change, think about it. Maybe you can be that, I'm going to co-opt Danielle's word, but that badass woman who is a butcher. All right. And with that, I think we can wrap things up.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening. We are glad to be back in the farmhouse with you. You can subscribe, give us a follow, subscribe. Maybe give us a rating, a review, 5 stars if you would like. Follow us on social media. We are on TikTok and Instagram as @Lancaster Farming. We're on Facebook as Lancaster Farming. Am I missing anything? It's been so long since we've done this.
I think you've done the whole roundup and done it well.
Lovely. So, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Candace.
This has been the Farmhouse, and we will talk with you guys later.
Bye.
This episode of The Farmhouse is copyright 2024 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family.
It was written by Stephanie Spiker and Candace Wierzbowski and produced by Eric Herlock and Matt Lee. The music you've heard throughout the episode is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow.